Hi everyone and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, or welcome if you're new to my channel. Either way, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It would really help me out. It'll really help you out. So it's a win-win all the way around. So we have arrived at the video you've all been waiting for with some bated breath. This is the end of 1981 though, as part of my overall 1980s horror series, where obviously I'm going to be giving you my top 20 horror movies from 1981 based on this current series that I've done this year, minus the month of March where I hit Leprechaun. And then, of course, the 1981 horror movies that I reviewed from series in the past, years in the past. So it's going to be a top 20 plus 4 honorable mentions plus 4 dishonorable mentions. I thought it'd be kind of fun to throw the worst of 1981 in, as at least in terms of what I saw. I didn't see like all the made-for-TV thrillers and horror movies from 1981, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones that I didn't see, foreign films, things like that. But yeah, 28 films we're going to go through in all. 4 dishonorables, 4 honorable, and then my top 20, the definitive list of my top 20 horror movies from 1981, based on my opinion, of course. And I guess I'll throw that disclaimer out there right away. This is just my opinion. It's just based on my entertainment and joy in watching these movies. If there's a movie that I that I reviewed that's not part of this top 20, it probably doesn't mean that I don't like the movie. It just means that there wasn't a spot for it. It's not one of my absolute favorites. So if it's not in the dishonorable mentions or the honorable mentions or the top 20, it just means that it didn't quite make the cut. It's not really bad, but it's just not really one of my favorites. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, another disclaimer, 2 movies I want to talk about. One is Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, which I know in some places it's shown as a 1982 film, known as Night Warning as well. I obviously reviewed it with 1981 with this series. And the other movie is the opposite. It's Madman, which I show as a 1982 movie in a lot of different places that I look. But I know it was actually released the end of 1981. But I'm going to go ahead and include it with my 1982 horror movies as part of this overall series, because I feel like 1981 has enough slasher movies. In fact, I believe we have, in my top 20, there's 8 slasher movies. And if you include my honorable mentions, there's 10 that we'll be touching on for slasher movies. So basically 10 out of 24 or 8 out of 20, however you want to look at it. But with all that being said, I'm going to do my best not to talk a whole lot about these movies as I go through them, because I have individual reviews up on my channel for a reason. So if you want to know more about my thoughts about a particular movie, most of them you can find in the last 3 to 4 months. As I reviewed as part of this overall 1980s horror series. And the other ones, you'll have to go back a little bit on my channel and find them from probably a year or 2, maybe even 3 or 4 years in the past. But they still are up on my channel, the individual full-length reviews. So with that being said, I probably won't be able to, I'll still probably say more than I should as I go through each of these movies, but I really want to keep this under 20 minutes. And then I'll finally wrap up this video by just giving you some overall thoughts about 1981, the year that it was in horror, all those types of things. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start with the dishonorable mentions. And there's 4 dishonorable mentions, as I said. Two of them I streamed or I watched on YouTube. The other 2 I do own and have in my collection, and I'll probably keep them, to be honest with you, even though they didn't hit hard for me from a positive standpoint. Unlike 1980, where I did get rid of one movie, which I believe was Alien Dead, which was just a little too low budget for me. There's not any movies that I plan on getting rid of for 1981, so I guess that's sort of another disclaimer I can throw out there. But with all that being said, I think I covered all my bases now, so let's just go ahead and get into this, starting with the dishonorable mentions. And they're kind of in order, but not really. Like, the first one I'm going to show you is probably my favorite of the dishonorable mentions, if that makes sense. But these are all movies, these 4 movies I gave a rating of less than 6 out of 10 to. So 5.5, 5, and even 4 in the case of the last one of these 4. So this first one I'm going to show you is Don't Go in the Woods, ... alone. This one I gave a 5.5 to. So out of these four, it's probably the one that I like the most. But I still have my issues with it. Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna get into it. But Don't Go in the Woods. ... Alone is one of my dishonorable mentions. Another one of my dishonorable mentions is Home Sweet Home, which is another slasher movie. That one and this one are the two slasher movies included with my... Oh no, I'm sorry. That's with honorable mentions. Never mind. Forget what I said. I'm jumping ahead here. But Home Sweet Home is a movie that I watched on YouTube. A very low budget 1981 over the top slasher, which I did get some entertainment value out of. I don't know that I'm going to go out of my way to buy it, especially when I know I can watch it for free on YouTube and I'm sure other streaming services. But Home Sweet Home. And then the other one that I don't have the physical copy for is Don't Go Near the Park. Don't Go Near the Park and Home Sweet Home. I think I gave both of those movies I gave a 5 out of 10 to. This one, as I said, I gave a 5.5 out of 10 to. And then the last one I'm going to bring up here in a second, I gave a 4 out of 10 to. But Don't Go Near the Park was really not a great movie. Again, very low budget, very convoluted, and just all over the place. But finally, my last dishonorable mention here that I gave the 4 out of 10 to is Scream. Not to be confused again with Wes Craven's Scream from 1996. This is a totally different Scream, a slasher movie, the same, but it's definitely not nearly as good as that 1996 Scream. Yeah, no kills, no nudity, no nothing really. So that's why I gave this a 4 out of 10. Okay, now let's get on to bigger and better things and talk about the good of 1981, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the good. Now, my honorable mentions are kind of in order as well. These are 4 movies that almost made my top 20, but just couldn't quite squeeze in there. My first honorable mention, which would be number 4, I guess, if you want to say, as far as a dishonorable mention, is actually one that I did watch on YouTube and streaming for free. But now I did pick up the Severin Blu-ray, and that is Burial Ground. There's one reason that this movie couldn't crack my top 20, and he's right there. God, I hate that kid. I hate the fact that it's a man playing a kid and the dubbing. Don't get me started again. If you want to see my rant about that, just watch my full video on. But this is a nice release, I'll say that. And I really do like the movie. It's a different kind of zombie movie, very claustrophobic. So Burial Ground is my first honorable mention. My next honorable mention, I might be in the process of getting the Blu-ray for this, but maybe not, because it's out of print and it's very expensive. And I know some of you might be disappointed that this is only an honorable mention, but it's just how I feel. Again, just my opinion. Just Before Dawn, the slasher. This is one of the slashers I was talking about. It's one of the 10 out of the 24, if you include my honorable mentions. Yeah, there's good about Just Before Dawn, but it just really didn't hit me as well as these 22 movies before it. But Just Before Dawn is my second honorable mention. I guess it would be rank number 3. Rank number 2 is probably one of the biggest surprises, and I thought it might be in my top 20 originally. But that is that I have on Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, Scared to Death, which this was one of the earlier movies I watched at the beginning of the year, and it's a creature feature that I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the investigative aspects of it. So Scared to Death. I believe I actually watched this one as well. Yeah, because this haven't even been open yet. So I got this after I watched it. I streamed it. Scared to Death. And then my last honorable mention, which I really hate having as an honorable mention. It's my number 1 honorable mention, and it almost made my top 20. And that is the one I mentioned earlier that has a 1981-82 release date, depending on where you look. But it's a Code Red Blu-ray, Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, also known as Night Warning. This is one of the most unique and bizarre movies. And I guess it is considered a slasher movie, so this is the other slasher that makes up the 10 out of the 24, the 20 plus the 4 honorable mentions. But I really like Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker. Like I said, it's really bizarre, but the performances are outstanding. It hasn't aged very well in terms of some of the homophobic slurs and things like that, but As far as a slasher goes in a horror movie in general, it's really enjoyable. Just couldn't make my top 20 list. But now we get into that top 20 list. And let's make sure I grab the right pile here. Bear with me for a minute. Here's a lot of movies to. I did pull them off the shelf. I thought at first I might just mention them, but I wanted to show the movies because I know I don't hear so well out of one ear, and so sometimes I don't speak loud enough. So some people might not be able to hear me very well. So I didn't want that to be the case here, but I did pull them off the shelf. So here we go, top 20. Starting with number 20, and this is a movie I have a feeling could definitely move up upon rewatch. I only watched it the one time so far, and that movie is Possession, my number 20. What can you say about this movie? I'm just going to say one thing. Sam Neill, Isabella Johnny. That's all you need to know from a positive standpoint about this movie, but this movie's crazy, man. It's very much an art house kind of horror movie. And like I said, I think upon rewatch, I'm going to like this even more. But for right now, it's my number 20 in my top 20 1981 horror movies. Number 19 is going to be... This is a movie I had on DVD, and I've now upgraded it to the Blue Underground Blu-ray. And that movie is Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery. Again, you have another annoying kid. The kid's not as annoying for me as the one in Burial Ground, but the dubbing is just as annoying because it's a female. But I can't deny that House by the Cemetery is a Fulci. It's a great Fulci movie. Not one of his very best. It is my third favorite of the trilogy, the Gates of Hell trilogy, as you'll find out here in a little bit. But yeah, The House by the Cemetery still has great atmosphere, some great gore scenes. So yeah, that's my number 19. Number 18 is going to be another slasher movie, one of the 8 that I talked about in my top 20. And that movie is Happy Birthday to Me with Melissa Sue Anderson. And I'm not sure. I might keep the DVD. I might look to upgrade this. I want to rewatch this movie as well because there's one thing that really kept it back for me, and that's the final reveal. I just could not. It's just so hard to say it strains credulity, or to say that it strains logic is beyond the pale. But that being said, this is still a really fun 1981 horror slasher. Happy Birthday to Me, number 18. Number 17 is a movie that has great atmosphere. It's also another movie that I watched on YouTube or that I streamed for free, and now I have the Blu-ray on Code Red, which is Ghost Keeper. This is kind of like a great haunted house sort of movie, but like a haunted hotel lodge. It says the last 15-20 minutes is tense and horrific, treading the middle ground between psychological and supernatural horror. Yeah, I would agree with that. This was another one that really surprised me in a positive way, Ghost Keeper. So yeah, that's going to be my number 17. Number 16, another slasher. In fact, this was the last movie that I reviewed as part of this series just a couple days ago, and that is Graduation Day, which I have here on DVD, but I'm actually selling this because as we speak, I ordered and is on its way, the Graduation Day Blu-ray through, is it Arrow? I've got too many companies in my head right now. No, Vinegar Syndrome, I think, but I'll be getting that Graduation Day. But yeah, this was like I said in my review, this is one of the better slasher movies, in my opinion, from 1981. And it's going to come in at number 15, Graduation Day. Really fun, good setting. Wait a minute, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Oh yeah, that's right. Number 15 is going to be Eyes of a Stranger. Another one that really surprised me. This has Jennifer Jason Leigh in her film debut. Very much Rear Window vibes, which is probably my favorite Hitchcock movie, or certainly top 3, as I mentioned in my review. But Eyes of a Stranger is really good. I love the cat and mouse game that takes place in the final half of the movie. So yeah, Eyes of a Stranger, number 15. Number 14 is going to be from this DVD horror movie pack. The Hand, which is another one I'm probably going to get a single release for because I really enjoyed The Hand. In some ways, it's more of a psychological thriller, but it's got enough horror elements into it. Michael Caine is outstanding in this movie, The Hand. I don't know, I just really liked it, and I really like sort of the twist and the reveals at the end of it. So The Hand is going to be number 14. My number 13 horror movie of 1981 is going to be a classic werewolf movie, and that's The Howling, which I have on the Scream Factory edition here. Yeah, Dee Wallace. The Howling is great. Great werewolf transformation. That's my number 13. Number 12 is going to be another Lucio Fulci movie, one that probably doesn't get talked about as much, but that's The Black Cat. I really enjoyed this movie. I really did. I thought that, and I'm not a huge fan of like Black Cat horror movies, but this is the best one that I've ever seen. Patrick McGee is great in this movie. Yeah, The Black Cat is great. That's number 12, I believe, if my math is still right. Number 11 is another slasher movie. This one I almost got into the top 10, but I just couldn't quite get there. But it probably is the best first-time slasher watch that I saw this year. Well, I better not speak too soon, but basically it's The Prowler. The Prowler that I have the Blue Underground DVD for here. I really enjoyed The Prowler. I love the look of the killer. The gore and the kills are fantastic. This is definitely one of the top tier 1981 slasher movies. My number 11 1981 horror movie, The Prowler. Okay, now we get into the creme de la creme, if you will, the top 10 of 1981, according to Brian's Horror Corner anyway, according to May of 2025. My number 10, a movie that I could very much relate to in a lot of ways, not always, but the very first movie that I reviewed with this overall 1980s horror movie for 1981, Evil Speak, with Clint Howard. Yeah, I might upgrade this, but again, it's very expensive because the Blu-ray for this is out of print. That's the word I'm looking for. So this is fine for now. But I was somebody that was bullied, kind of like he's bullied throughout the most of the first 2/3 of this movie. It was very cathartic. But yeah, I love this movie. This is great. Evil Speak is number 10. My number 9 movie, number 9 horror movie for 1981 is going to be Ghost Story. This is a movie that I don't feel gets talked about enough. It's kind of an old-fashioned ghost horror story. It's got Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and John Houseman in it. And I love the story. I love the structure of this movie. It has some great twists. There's some gore involved. Yeah, Ghost Story is great. Some great practical effects, I should say. So Ghost Story is my number 9. Number 8 is going to be, and some of you might be disappointed that I don't have this much higher, but it's one of the classic 1981 outdoor camp slasher movies, and that is The Burning, that I have here, the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Yeah, what can you say about The Burning that hasn't been said already? The only thing that I have a problem with is kind of towards the end, I feel like it does kind of getting to the final climax. There's a lot of chase, and I think it goes on a little bit too long. But the look of Cropsy is great. It's a brutal movie, very good, very entertaining slasher movie. That's going to be my number 8. Number 7 for 1981 is going to be Dead and Buried, which I have the Blue Underground DVD here for. Yeah, I love this movie. Dead and Buried was great. A great cast with James Ferrantino, Melody Anderson, and Jack Albertson in his last role, I think. And he plays a very memorable character in this movie to go out on top. I just really love the atmosphere about Dead and Buried, and kind of you kind of know that there's something wrong with a lot of people in this movie. It kind of has that whole vibe going. So Dead and Buried, number 7. Number 6 is going to be, no surprise probably to a lot of people, and that is Friday the 13th Part 2. Yeah, I like this one more than the original, to be honest with you. Ginny's probably we all know is one of the best final girls, probably the best final girl of this series for my money. So Friday the 13th Part 2 is going to be my number 6. I'm losing track and I'm an accountant. So now we get into the top five, and my number five is one of my two favorite, very favorite horror comedy movies, and that is An American Werewolf in London. Yeah, I want to make sure I didn't say Paris there. An American Werewolf in London from 1981. I absolutely love this movie. It has the perfect balance of comedy and horror, great practical effects. My favorite werewolf movie of all time. Yeah, what else can you say? An American Werewolf in London, number five for me. Number four is going to be maybe one of the, well, if it's not the best sequel of all time, it's top three, top five for sure. And that is Halloween 2 from 1981. Just the transition, how they go, you can literally watch the first movie to this movie, and it doesn't feel like they missed a beat. Like it's almost like they shot the second movie at the same time they shot the first movie. How they're able to capture that same atmosphere and everything, I don't know. It's not quite as good as the first movie because it does rely a lot more on the slasher tropes at this time. There's more blood involved, more on-screen kills, and less of the, it still has some of the tension, but I love the hospital setting. Yeah, Halloween 2, it's my second favorite Halloween movie in that franchise, next to, of course, the original John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. But this is my number four from 1981. Now we get into the top three, and this is where we really separate the men from the boys. This was hard, and we're already over 21 minutes, so I guess I didn't make my promise. My number three is the highest movie as part of this overall 1980s horror review for 1981 that I did this year, and that is Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. I can't figure out whether I love this one more or City of the Living Dead more. I'm going to have to watch them back to back to figure that out. But I absolutely love The Beyond. Everything about it, from the practical gore effects to the atmosphere to the performances to the directing. It's everything I want in a Lucio Fulci movie and a Gates of Hell movie. So Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, number three for 1981. Number two is going to be one of my top 4 or 5 slashers of all time for any year. And that, of course, probably to nobody's surprise, is My Bloody Valentine I got the Scream Factory collection here. I should have had water with me. My Bloody Valentine, what can you say? It's just one of the great slasher movies of all time. I'm not going to go into all the great things about it because I'm already way over my time. That brings us to my favorite. My favorite horror movie from 1981 is, no, not this one. The original, The Evil Dead, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell, of course. I don't know what it is, but everything in this movie works for me. I'm not somebody that finds, there are some humorous moments in it, but not like this movie. This is definitely more of a horror movie. I think some people find humor in it because of the over-the-top, low-budget nature of it, but that actually works for me. The grainy quality, the effects of the kills, people coming back from the dead. What can you say? The Evil Dead is the best. My favorite 1981 horror movie that I have on this 2-pack with Evil Dead 2. So there you go. There you have it, guys. Thanks for staying with me. I know it's been a longer video than I thought. I guess I'm going to have to make 25 minutes my cutoff when it comes to having a top 20. But it's not going to be that long going forward. I can already tell you 1982, it's going to be a top 10 or top 15. 1980 and 81 were those 2 years specifically for horror movies. There's just so many of them, I couldn't go less than a top 20. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this entire series for 1981, not the overall 1980s horror series, because of course I still have 8 more years to go through, probably over the next 4 or 5 years. I'll probably be in my 50s by the time I conclude with 1989. But with that being said, yeah, my thoughts on 1981, it might be the best year of horror. It very well might be. I can't say for sure because I haven't seen all the horror movies in all the different years, but it's got to be up there. 1981, I think it's a little bit better than 1980, and I love 1980. But 1981 is really a who's who of horror movies, man. Not just slasher movies, but overall horror movies. So it's a great year for horror. That's why it took me 3.5 months out of the first 4.5 months of 2025 here to get through because I wanted to give it its due. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. Like I said, 1982, 83, 84, going forward, it's going to be a top 15 at most, probably a top 10 as the decade goes on. I'm going to really work hard to make sure of that. But with all that being said, I don't want this video to go much over 25, which is, we already are. So I'm going to end it there. But stay tuned for my spoiler-free review of the new Final Destination movie in a couple of days. And as I mentioned in a video a few days ago, horror movie packs are coming hard and fast over the next 6 weeks. And as well as that poll that I'm going to put up here in early June for you guys to pick the series that we do in July. I'm going to have 10 options. So with all that being said, I got to get out of here. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my great horror content coming up. And as always, you know it. Stay scared, guys. All right. Bye.